Hello, I'm Father Joe Gembala, pastor of St. Malachy. We're continuing on in our series on miracles. Today's miracle is described to us in the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 5. Now, Jesus was standing one day by the Sea of Galilee, with a large crowd pressing upon him and listening to the word of God. When Jesus caught sight of two boats close to the bank, the fishermen had gone out of them and were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, it was Simon's, and asked Simon to put out a little bit from the shore. Then Jesus sat down and taught the crowds from the boat. When Jesus had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and pay out your nets for a catch." "Master," Simon replied, "we worked hard all night long and caught nothing. But if you say so, I will put out the nets." And when they had done this, they netted such a huge number of fish that their nets began to tear. So they signaled to their companions in the other boat to come and help them. And when they came, they filled two boats almost to the point of sinking. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at the knees of Jesus, saying, "Leave me alone. I am a sinful man." For he and his companions were completely overcome by the size of the catch that they had experienced. But Jesus said to Simon, "Do not be afraid. From now on, it is people that you will be catching." The gospel of the Lord. Well, the Sea of Galilee, also referred to as the Sea of Gennesaret, is a large freshwater body, and it's the source of the Jordan River, and it's in northern Israel, the Galilee region. And it's been there for a very, very long time, and people have fished in that lake for thousands and thousands of years. In Jesus' day, a fisherman's life on that lake was a very hard and difficult life. There was no DNR. That lake was not stocked. There were no limits to the catch. So whatever you caught, you caught. And all the fishing was done by hand. No radars, no sonars, no winches, everything just by ropes and the bare strength of your arms and back. Also, the fishing was done at night, because at night the fish would come to the surface to feed on the bugs. So it was a night job. To be a fisherman was a hard, hard life. And on top of all that, that lake was pretty depleted by the time of Jesus. A good catch in Jesus' day was 4 fish. That's right, 4 fish. Well, and with that, the poor fishermen would have to feed their family and try to make a few coins to pay whatever taxes they had and buy whatever thing, like olive oil and maybe vegetables and other things that they needed. It was a hard life. It was a poor life. And here comes Jesus. And Jesus sees this crowd. This crowd is coming. The crowd's coming because Jesus has been healing them. He's doing a lot of healing, and the crowd wants more healing. And they're also intrigued with the things Jesus says. So Jesus thinks, well, I should get a little space between them, lest they keep crowding me and trying to touch the hem of my garment or something like that. So he asked Peter if he could stand in the boat and go off a few feet. Most people would not go in the water because in Jesus' day, very few people knew how to swim. And he stood in the boat and he preached to the crowds. And then he did something quite remarkable. He told Peter to throw the net over the side for a catch. Now, Peter, a fisherman, tough guy, with calluses all over his hands, back probably aching, thinks to himself, what does this teacher know about fishing? And my guess is he probably says okay to Jesus, probably just to show the teacher up. He says, okay, you may be pretty smart about the scriptures, Jesus, but you don't know anything about fishing. We'll show you what happens when you try to fish in the daytime when the fish go deep. He throws the nets over, and they're filled with fish. He's got to call his buddies, James and John, over with their boat, and both boats are loaded. They go to the shore. Now, what's the purpose of this miracle? It's certainly more than just a wow, Peter and the fishermen. No, there's a legitimate purpose to this miracle. Peter has a family. We don't know if John was married. James might have been, Andrew might have been, we're not sure. But the chances are they were, and the chances are they had obligations, people to feed, taxes to pay, people to take care of. Jesus is going to call these men to follow him for 3 years. This miracle, with this amount of fish, gives Peter and James and John and Andrew the ability to take care of their families during this time. With that kind of a catch of fish, they'll have all the resources they need to provide for their family while they leave them and go be with Jesus, listening and learning from him for the next 3 years. A very practical purpose to this miracle. But like I said, miracles have double meanings. And the extra meaning of this miracle is that just as Jesus provided the apostles to follow him, Jesus will give us what we need to follow him as well. Because just like he calls the apostles, he calls every one of us to follow him. Now, following Jesus can mean many different things depending upon your situation in life. And the needs we might need to follow Jesus might not necessarily be financial. But, for example, we might need some patience. I mean, you have to be patient sometime to listen to people and what they have to say and convince them about the importance of putting God in their life. Or we might need the gift of forgiveness. We might be estranged from someone, and we may need to forgive and break those barriers in order to present to them the story of the gospel. Or we might ask for the gift of courage. Sometimes it's not easy to open one's mouth and talk about God to someone you might not know how they're going to take it. So we have to pray for the gift of courage. But this must I know, just as Jesus provided for what James and John and Peter and Andrew needed to follow him, Jesus, if we ask for it, will provide what we need to follow him as well.